how do you tap into creativity?
Well, I think spaciousness is really, really important, to have space to just dream. I think oftentimes we're just getting bombarded with emails, with messages, with Instagram posts, with this, with that. And so it's about turning all of it off and just going into nature, taking a walk. I started what I call Friday thinking days. So I actually don't take any calls or meetings on Fridays for the last 5 years. Actually, now it's almost 6 years, where I have not taken a single internal call or meeting on Fridays. And I call them thinking days, where I get to just be, take walks, relax, and just allow for creativity to come in. And when, I think if you walk around in nature and look around, or you see textures, or you see anything, you're just like, like that's an interesting texture. I wonder how to, put that in kind of, like that made me think of a texture that I can put into my business. Or you're going to an art museum and you're like, oh wow, that art thing just sparked an idea for this. Or I went to Tokyo and I actually brought it here, but there's this like there's this speakeasy bar that I went to in Tokyo, like underground behind like a black wall. There was this speakeasy, and the owner actually happened to be there, so he gave me the menu. But it was a menu that opened, and there was a black light. So when you open the menu, it was a regular menu, but then the black light you put the black light on, and a whole second menu came up forward, which was like absinthe and like kind of like more sort of like darker cocktails and things like that. So it was just like, like that totally sparked an idea for my next company's launch, And so I'm constantly looking at the world through the lens of, oh wow, that color is really beautiful. That texture is really beautiful. Oh, the way he's sitting is really interesting. That'll be a really good position on a toilet for my next campaign that makes it look really artful and cool. Or, it's just a constant looking at the world through the lens of art, and then like I'm constantly taking photos of like things that inspire me. But ultimately, it's having spaciousness to really dream. Oftentimes when I'm, wanting to think about a campaign for any one of my companies, I actually go sit in nature and I just say, I'm opening myself, this sounds a little woo-woo, but it works. I'm opening myself up to the most creative, the most fun, the most uplifting, the most viral campaign to come through me right now. And oftentimes really amazing ideas come through. And so it's just like, it's creating the intention and actually just having the spaciousness to just dream, and then having kind of different types of things to look at to kind of spark a little inspiration. It takes you on lots of different, wormholes of creativity. So we're all creative beings. We just forget.
Yeah, no, true, so true. Is it that because the way you look at the world, when you sit in solitude, silence, creative outlet, that the ideas are more present to you? Because what you just said, like I'm taking input on, let's say I might have been to a great speakeasy, I just never looked at that view and said, oh, we could, this could be an idea for launch of a company. Is there a particular way, have you practiced a particular, were you always like this? Did you develop this as a skill? And if that was true, anything that comes to mind where you were like, you know what, when I was in this class or this school, this is when I started to do, let's look at the world a little bit different. And maybe that practice gives us an education on how to look at the world slightly differently than we all are looking at creative things at all times, but we're not perceiving it the same way that you are. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, like going to the gym. It's just like practicing a muscle. It's just like, when I go out, I'm seeing the world with fresh new eyes. And I'm seeing the world through an artful lens. And I think it's just like approaching the world and just saying, okay, I'm walking out this door and everything is now a creative opportunity for me to just like take something and be inspired by. So I think it's not like it's not an innate necessarily thing. It's just something that it's a choice that we get to go and be like, I'm going to go and just see the world with a fresh pair of eyes. And that, I think having a baby was a really big thing, seeing the fresh pair of eyes there. Going to Burning Man actually was an incredibly altering sort of universe to enter for the first time and say, wow, like this is possible. This level of artfulness and the creativity and, the sort of the 10 core principles and how they've kind of set up the festival. It was just really, really powerful and like different. And it was like, wow, like this, I did the Artist Way, I did an Artist Way group. I brought kind of 30 friends together and we did it together, and morning pages and just walking in nature. And, there's just like a lot of different books that that unlock. Rick Rubin just wrote that book, just, looking through, just getting, like, I also don't necessarily love copying or like looking at what necessarily what other people's doing. I like looking at artists, going to Donald Judd's exhibit in, in Marfa, Texas was like incredible, just to walk around and be like, wow, this is the way he thinks about art. And like, oh, wow, that's this interesting lines. Like, oh, the simplicity of the room. Like maybe for our next Tushy ad, it should be very, very simple, like a Donald Judd exhibit, right? So I think it's like getting inspired by, but I don't really look at other brands and say like, oh, we should take like that brand's ideas and put it towards our brand. I look at art and artists, completely different worlds, and bring them to business or bring them to industry. I think that the most like, people always ask me like, how do you change culture? Like, starting Things or starting Tushy or creating Hero or even opening my restaurants that are gluten-free pizza restaurants in New York City, which at the time, like Joe's Pizza, like was the thing. And if gluten-free pizza,
especially in New York, where
you are
snobby
blasphemous
about their pizza.
Oh yeah. They're like, you are a bad person if you have a gluten-free pizza restaurant. Yeah. And so, I kind of came up with a thesis around changing culture. Like it's a 3-pronged thesis, kind of like a tripod, without the other will fall down. So actually you need these 3 prongs to actually shift consciousness. The first is they all seem very obvious, but the first is a best-in-class product. It has to be obvious. It can't be just like, okay, product. We have the world's best bidet attachment in the world. Tushy is the world's best bidet attachment in the world. I can say that 100% certainty. We have the very best customer service, very best product. We've listened to our customers over the last 10 years and kept iterating. We have the very best bidet in the world, like period. So the first prong is, is it a best-in-class product? The second prong is, which is what we're talking about, artfulness. Like across every touch point of our brand is their artfulness. And most brands don't think about brands through the lens of art. They think about it like design, graphic design, but not art. And it's a very, very important distinction. Like I look at it through the lens of art. Like, can we make art? And through the lens of a brand, And so, and can every touch point be artful? Can we make a postcard that someone would want to put on their fridge? I call it fridge worthy. I talked about that when I gave a talk at A-Fest, which was, like, can you make something so artful, so personal, so beautiful that it can make this small real estate on your fridge? I call it fridge worthiness. And because it's so creative and someone feels so connected to it, So the second prong is artfulness across every touch point of your brand. And then the third is accessible, relatable language. And oftentimes when we're talking about something new in the world, bringing a bidet or a period-proof underwear, or you're bringing plastic-eating mushrooms or gluten-free pizza, like these require some explanation. And for people to really be like, like let me try something different that I've known. I've always worn a pad or a tampon. I want to bleed in my underwear. That sounds disgusting. I've always used toilet paper to wipe my butt, even if it's just smearing poop around. It's not actually cleaning you, but that's what I've known across generations. Why would I use water? You use water to shower, you use water for everything else, but like somehow we've been brainwashed to believe the toilet paper. It doesn't make any sense. But so the idea that, like how to talk about that in a way that's relatable. And so the idea that when we talk about Tushy, it's very, very easy to talk about a bidet as a device that you attach to your toilet. And it's this toilet device company, but it becomes this weird contraption. And this is why Toto hasn't been able to really come to America in a really, really grand way. They've been around for a long time, but they just are a bit set in their ways, and it feels very devicey, like something's wrong with you, or you're an old person or whatever, rich, or there's a blockage for American consumer to why they haven't adopted the bidet. So for us, it's like, how do you talk to the consumer through levity, through humor, through art, through beauty, but through relatable language? Like it's not clinical, it's not medical, it's not heady, it's not technical, it's not academic. It's just like you're texting your best friend. When you think about, introducing a new idea to your best friend, when you're texting, like, oh my God, I saw this thing. You text your best friend, like in a way that's very authentic. That's just like, oh my God, I found this thing that does this, and it's this, and it's not clinical, technical, medical, academic, or heady. It's just you texting your best friend. And so for us, the way we write our copy, the way we talk to our customers is like you're texting your best friend. We're not writing like we're trying to tell you about this new thing that you need to get and why it's such an important upgrade to your, there's a way to get to someone in a very relatable, accessible way. So I think those three prongs together create a shift in culture. It's worked every time.